Hello and welcome to Scilence, a podcast where women get really honest about surviving and thriving in what often feels like a man's world. My guests are wonder women from the fields of science, technology, engineering and mathematics, or STEM, where inclusivity and diversity can be a real problem. I know this only too well as a female Southeast Asian mechanical engineer, and kind of a minority within a minority. I'm Dr. Shanice O'Mara, an engineer turned broadcaster. Throughout my career, I've worked on and reported on some cutting-edge technology and innovation. And through my television work, I've met some incredibly inspiring women from a diverse range of STEM fields. Talking to these exceptional ladies has often left me feeling empowered, hopeful, and excited about life. I believe Scilence will enrich you too. Every week, a woman from STEM shares her unique experiences with absolutely no pressure in having to promote her accomplishments or guard her impressive reputation. Because I've come to realise that everyone is just way more open and relaxed when they're anonymous. So I deliberately disguise my guest voices so that we're just connecting as human beings rather than human doings. It's my hope that you really relate to what we chat about today. If so, please do subscribe to Scilence and maybe even rate and review the show. I'd love to have your feedback. This week, my guest is in the field of control engineering for a scientific facility. Hi.
Hi, Shani. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Oh my gosh, it is so wonderful to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, so how's it going with managing this scientific facility using your control engineering skills? Is it quite a stressful job?
Yeah, I should say, firstly, of course, it's a job. It's a job for me, but I kind of feel like loving this. It's not only a job. That's
Yeah. So what if it's not just a job? What more is it to you?
Yeah, I think from the beginning I was just took it as a job because before I got into the control engineering, I worked as a um, website programmer, let's say.
Okay.
And so at the beginning of taking this job, I was a little bit mm, um, not so sure because I didn't know if I could do it good or not. I couldn't know. I didn't know if I could do it well or not.
Yeah.
And so at the beginning, I was kind of worried, but it's not because of I don't have this ability. I knew I have this kind of ability to do it. Because my background is computer science and technology. And so that's when I was studying in my college. I've taken all the course for example, like programming. So that's not because of lack of ability. I knew, but it's kind of like a lack of self confidence because it's not directly the same jobs.
Right.
Because so it's like I jumped from something to the other
Something else.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, they are kind of connected, but they are different.
Why did you make the jump?
Probably I should talk more about my story. Probably, because so after I graduated. After I got my PhD, I just traveled. I left my home country with my husband. And back to that time, he got an opportunity to receive a position in a country in Europe. and but I came with him without a job on my hand in my hand. So it was like some kind of gap, about 1 or 2 years gap. Um, at at the beginning, it was not. It was a little difficult, because in my home country, it's not easy for a woman, for a girl, to get to the, let's say, the highest education level, to get a PhD degree. But right after I got a PhD degree, and it's like it's stopped. It's like so that made me a little bit, myself confidence just dropped, because this kind of gap. And then um, I tried to find a way. My PhD field was the high level, the application software for the scientific facility. But it's not very easy to find a job, a, found a quite matched job in a new country
Because you're so
immediately.
specialized.
So because I yeah, and but the good thing is, uh, because of my computer science and technology background, it's it's kind of easier for me to to switch to, for example, to website programming, or for some coding work. So after 1 or 2, I think after one year, I found a job, um, for which was the uh, development for a website. And so that's why I jumped from the website developer to back to the control engineering. And so let's get back to the
Right.
question you answered. You asked me, why I think this job is not only a job. That's because I can find the passion from this job. Um, it's not when I in the beginning, um, I I was not fully a control engineer, because back to that time, um, we already had a colleague who was fully who took full responsibility for the control for our scientific facility. But I think after 2 or 3 months after I joined the facility here, the colleague, the colleague who was fully taking responsibility for the control engineer, for the control, he left, and he chose to left. So which made me a opportunity to to get into get fully
Yeah.
into the control engineering. Yeah, so it was, yeah,
Right.
I was lucky. I was lucky, and then um, I I got back to, no, not got back. I had the opportunity, and then I just realized, wow, this is a good chance. I can get back to what I learned for my PhD. I I was so excited, and then I contacted my former colleagues, former PhD colleagues, and then we get this cooperation relationship built.
When you were a small girl, did you always want to be doing what you're doing today?
To be honest, that the answer is no. Because when I was a little girl, uh, I believe it or not, my dream was to be a writer. Yeah, it's
Wow.
totally
Okay.
different, right? Yeah. Um, I
What happened?
yeah, I really, really love to write. I Let me say before the high school. Um, I participated in some competition, and I won some prize for writing some articles. Not a big one, but for the primary school or for the middle school.
Hmm.
And I was kind of, let's say, famous in my school as a, um, let's say, a small writer. But
Hmm.
so, mm, why I chose to not to pursue the writer dream was the reality. Because my hometown was a town which is not so developed, let's say, and it's kind
Hmm.
of poor back to 30, 20 years ago. And so when I had to choose what I'm really what I really want to do in the future, which means to choose the
Hmm.
college, to choose the major. I had to choose something that I can I can earn a life easier. So
Yeah.
to be a writer, probably it's not so easy to earn a life, right?
Right.
Mm,
Yeah.
But to learn computer
But
science and technology, that's kind of yeah.
right.
So
Were you good at these subjects,
good.
or did you find them difficult?
You mean the computer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it was difficult for me in my first year of my university, my college, because I never ever touched a computer before
Huh.
I got into the university. That's true. I never touched
Wow.
a computer. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
it was difficult. And we had to learn coding. We had to learn everything on the computer. So uh, what was my way to do it? So firstly, I had to be familiar with the keyboard. The keyboard. I
Mm.
bought a. It's like a plastic sheet of the keyboard. You know, it's a fake one,
Yeah.
and it's printed all the keys on
Yeah.
the plastic paper. And I just firstly I just use that tool, let's say, to get familiar with the keys and to remember all the position of the keys and to know because to be a programmer you have to sometimes you have to type very fast and you cannot just use like 2 point fingers to point.
Mm. Did you own a computer before
No,
university?
before university, it was 2000. Yeah, 2000 was the first year I
Gosh.
got into university, and I didn't own a computer. I never touched a computer.
How did you know that you wanted to study this?
It's because my teacher, my high school teacher, advised me He said,
Ah,
"Yeah,
okay.
this is the computer science and technology will be popular in future in the next
Mm,
10 or 20 years, and
yeah.
it will be much easier than to be a writer." So if you learn the
I
technology.
think we can reveal which country you've come from and where you're living now because people won't be able to identify
Yeah,
you.
it's
So
yeah, I
where
think it's okay. I'm from China. Yeah, I'm from China,
ah,
a a small village in the southwest. Yeah,
so why did you study all the way to PhD? Why not just get a degree?
yeah, that's another story. Because I can say I kind of pursue the highest degree for my mom. That's it sounds strange, right? Yeah.
No, not at all. I think I did my degree for my dad.
I did it for my mom because probably people know that um, some area in China is kind of patriarchal patriarchal society.
Mm,
Yeah, it's you
yes.
know, um, and my mom my mom didn't have a boy. I was the
Ah,
eldest, and I have two younger sisters. Yeah,
yes.
so it was in that kind of society, um, people could be mean, could be really mean if you don't have
Mm,
a boy at your home. So
mm,
um, I I knew that kind of feeling, and I knew how much my mom suffered, and so I just studying from when I was a little girl. I already knew that if anything the boys can do, I can do either. I can do also, and I can do it better. So that was
mm.
yeah. So that was um, it's like to prove that my mom could be proud of me, and I um, yeah, I can be like better than a son, a boy. So
Yes.
so
And is she proud of you now?
um, my mom passed away 6 years ago, and yeah, she was proud of me, and that was after I got my PhD degree. So
Oh,
she knew I got
yeah.
my PhD degree, and
Amazing.
she was happy. She was proud of me. Yes, that's for sure. But
Was she your biggest inspiration?
I think so. I think so. Um,
Mm,
if if without my mom, I probably I will never be a PhD. Probably, yeah.
mm,
And probably I will never go out go out of my country and go abroad
yes.
because my mom always encouraged me to do what I want to do. Um, my mom was a great woman. She was a teacher in the primary school in
Ah,
my hometown. Yeah,
yeah.
she was a very good teacher, and she, I'm sure she not only inspired me, but she also inspired a lot of kids, a lot of children in my hometown.
Mm. So, as you were growing up, were you aware of the gender stereotypes? When I say aware, I mean, did you experience people being unkind about you being a girl studying computer science?
Yes, I can say. Um, for example, um, if I and another classmates, let's say in the university, if we submit the more or less the same code, and probably my code will be mm, kind of that sometimes they just didn't believe. They maybe they said probably it's copied from somewhere, or yeah, at the beginning, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes,
Mm.
I had such
And
experience. Yes.
and how did you cope with that?
um, Let the time and the performance and the performance to prove it. Um, so if I copy, I can copy once or twice. I cannot copy all the time, right? I cannot
Mm.
submit the right the good answer all the time. But if I can do it always, like a lot of time, then
Mm.
people know that okay, that you are good at it.
Mm.
And so that's the same, I think, in my work experience. Um, I still can remember, yeah, probably it's kind of like a gossip, but I still can remember there's a guy in my institute, and he he's just he's not so not so nice, let's say.
Mm.
He always be there with a face with like a poker face, and never smile to me. I
Mm.
didn't know what I did wrong,
Mm.
but and there was a team meeting, a technical team meeting. Um, we were discussing about um, how long and how many people we need, and how long we need for for my work area, let's say, for some kind of my work. And I gave some data to say that um, with myself, I need only like half a year to do the work A, B, C. And he just laughed at me, and he said, this kind of work needs like two or three people, probably a team to do, and probably like 5 years. So, so that was I. I was yeah. So, but then I proved. I proved with documentation, with the research I did, and with the prototype I did. So I proved. So I mean, just that's the performance, that's the work to say it, because
Mm.
words
Yeah.
words are mm, cheap, and sometimes
Yes.
words are cheap. So you just need to prove it. You have to do it and to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you must have a lot of confidence in your ability.
Um, yes. I mean, because I'm um a learner, a
Yeah.
self learner all the time.
Mm.
Even when I am taking the parenting leave now, taking the maternity leave now, I still doing some like coding, solve some coding problems. I keep solving coding problems at home. So I don't want myself to be like when I get back to work, um, people say, okay, this person just
Has been
um,
away too long.
yeah,
Mm.
and I don't want to be like in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you're very ambitious and driven, self-driven.
it's it's not like ambitious. I cannot tell what kind of. It's not ambitious. But it's like probably like um, to prove to do it for my mom.
Mm.
Probably it's already been a habit for me, for myself. It's already been the lifestyle, life habit. If there's a day and for me end up with not getting any knowledge, I was like frustrated.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's kind of yeah. So and especially for engineering, for technology, for a computer science, you just need to learn new
Yeah,
things.
because it changes so
You just
fast.
need to keep
Yeah.
learning. Yes, just need to keep
Mm.
learning and learning. So there's no shortcut. Yeah.
Did you ever doubt your ability?
Mm, yeah, probably sometimes. Um,
How did you cope when you felt like perhaps you couldn't do something or it was too technical or too
yeah,
difficult?
I mean, you know, there are ups and downs, and yes. So for me, um, if I really got some problem or some technical problem, I really cannot do it. Um, I firstly I search on the Google, of course, spend a lot of time, a lot of not only the working time, even after working, I spent a lot of time to try to find out if there's any solution or any way um, other people knows because for the control engineering field we have a kind of like a society on a website or internet society and a lot of other control engineers they're sharing, asking questions and answer
Mm.
questions and sharing the technology and knowledges. So, firstly, I tried um, to get an answer from this society, and if not, I fortunately I have a former colleague who is very really professional yeah supportive and also professional in my area in the control engineering
Supportive?
area
Mm.
so I can always find an answer from him
Mm.
but I don't want to bother him all the time when I get a problem. So just I if after I tried all the way I can, I if I still couldn't have an a solution, then I I I asked the colleague for help, and he's a very supportive, and he's a very kind guy. Yeah.
Have most men been kind to you in your area of engineering?
I can say yes. Most of men, they are kind, probably because the engineering area, because most people are men. Yeah, they are kind, especially when they know they are better than you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, for example, if I'm looking for some help, yes,
Yeah.
people, there always be some people, they are kind and would like to offer
Mm.
help. But I think I also meet some people which are not so kind, not so nice. But this is life. You cannot be liked by everyone. So this is I accept this kind of a situation. Always look at the bright side.
You mentioned maternity leave. How have you managed
Yeah,
to juggle a very male dominated career with motherhood?
it will be difficult. This is for sure. So that's why I decided to have kids after I thought my job, my career is kind of
Mm.
stable. You know what I mean? It's um, after I think, okay, I feel like I'm prepared. So because I'm not young anymore. I'm already
Mhm.
after 35. So after 35, I had my daughter, and so that's after I'm sure I was certainly sure that I was prepared
Ah,
to
yeah.
have a kid.
Because I think
Yes,
women
yes,
in
that is
male dominated
yeah,
careers often struggle to choose whether they continue on in their careers or they choose motherhood. And it can be really difficult having both.
yeah. It's difficult. It's yeah. You cannot have both. I mean, at at the same
Yeah.
time, you cannot have both. You cannot devote yourself to the job and taking care of the family or the child. Um, but for my case, I I was I was sure that I have the maternity leave, so I can take good care of my daughter, at least for the first 1 year, because I think she needs me. It's you know, for my whole life, it's the only year I spent for her. So I think it's fine for me to just to
Mm.
leave the job for a while, for a year or even a little bit longer, um,
Yeah.
and to take care of my baby. For me, this is I think yeah, this is my decision. And before I got pregnant, I was fully yeah. This was
This was a choice, a plan.
this was the plan.
Listening to you, it sounds like you do have it all. You've got a great education, a great job, a husband, a daughter. I mean, what more could a woman want, really?
Yeah, but probably you can just see the bright side of me, and from your uh, your view that it's like yes, I have uh, a child, I have husband, I have work, and it's I have a degree, but there was a lot of um, sacrifice, let's say, yeah. Um, so the
What were the
firstly and
sacrifices?
the most important one was I had to choose to leave my mother. I I love my mother very much,
Yeah.
but I had to choose to leave her to to pursue the educate higher education. I left my mother since I was 10 and a half. Um, not like the
Wow.
fully left. I because I had to stay in the school to live in the school in the dormitory in the school um, from middle school
Mm.
um, because as I told you, my hometown, my home was in a village, a small town, and to study in a good high middle school, high school, I had to get an education a in the city. So I couldn't just to travel every day.
Mm.
That's not possible. So that's why I told you I left my mom since very early age, and then after
Mm.
that I went further to go to the university, and then even further to go to the a institute to study for my PhD degree. This was not really easy for me. Um, I it's like I only stayed with my mom for about 10 years. Let, yeah, about 10 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Gosh.
after I went abroad, it's even harder because the distance is extremely far and it's not in the same country. So I only met my mom like probably once a year or sometimes once 2 years.
Mm. So to have the life that you have today, you had to sacrifice your time with your mother. How do you feel about that today, looking back?
I just feel sorry for my mom. Yeah, if
Mm.
probably, yeah, it's so this is life. It's complicated. So
Mm.
sometimes
Yeah.
when I look back, sometimes I was thinking, yeah, probably I would not choose to go abroad. At least um, uh, this is too far. It's too far. Um,
Mm.
sometimes I was thinking it's good to go abroad to see the world. It's
Mm.
yeah. I stayed in 4 countries.
How would you feel if your daughter made similar choices?
Yeah, this I just uh, I just couldn't imagine. I just couldn't imagine. Yeah, that would be really hard. So that's why when I think of my mom, that's why I feel my mom was a really great person. She
Yeah.
encouraged me to leave her. You know, She loves me. That doesn't mean she doesn't love me. She loves me, and then she encouraged me to leave her.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
mother bird would push the baby bird to fly. So it's like
Mm.
she pushed me away, but for me to be a better person, for me to have a better life.
Mm.
So so
Would you do the same for your daughter?
I think I will. I think I will. But
Mm.
before that, I will try all my best to teach her um, to. Yeah, I really don't know. Now she's only 1 year old, so I don't know. um, it's still a long way to go. At least 10 years, let's say.
Yeah.
If it was my situation,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
I mean, we live in a society where people try to do what they enjoy and what they really feel is their purpose. Um, you originally said that you loved writing.
Yeah,
Do you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose now?
yeah. That's that's a really good question. I also asked myself sometimes, um, do I love my job or not?
Mm.
The answer is always yes. Um, it's not because it's not about the what I'm doing, but I think the ultimate or the happiness, the ultimate happiness is it's the process you pursue something. It's and then you got the accomplishment.
Mm.
For example, to solve a problem, it's less happy. And but if you think and think very hard, and then finally you got the answer, you will be happier, right? So that's that. What I mean is that's the process, and the result after the process, after the hard work, then you got the result. Then that's the happiness. So for my work, I I kind of like to I want to solve problems. Um, so, for example, for a writer, you write a book or write some article or something. It's it's like a product, and it's like you created something, yeah,
Mm.
and
You're answering a question.
I think for the writer,
Mm.
when they were writing, they were really happy. And after they finish their work, and that's the after it's like after a product, that's the yeah. Whether the book will be famous or not, the writer will be very happy. So that's so back to my work.
Mm.
Um, I love to solve problems, and I think life is not always smooth. Um, Work is just like life. You need to solve problems, problems, then
Mm.
problems. It cannot be just smooth. For example, we got problems. For one day, the car broken. Just the car just couldn't work. For the other day, some other things happen.
Mm.
So life is not like a smooth journey. There, there are always problems need to be solved. So yeah, I like to solve problems.
Yeah.
And another point is uh, when I learn a new programming language, sometimes when I when I was coding, sometimes I was thinking, okay, probably this is some kind of writing, you know, it's just to write code. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly.
It is like a
So
language.
so what I mean, yes. Mhm. So what I mean is probably I'm not pursuing something I thought uh, I love, but I was just mm, I so far I enjoyed my work and
Mm.
my experience, my life experience. Yes.
Your motivation for doing what you do was really to escape your country of origin. Would you advise your daughter to have the same motivations, or is she living in a very different world?
To be honest, I really hope my daughter to live in another country. um, yeah, I will teach her a, the culture, um, but um, I prefer if I give the advice to her, I would suggest her to live in another country.
And would you advise her to study the same subjects as you, or what would you advise her?
I will try to help her to find out what she really like,
Mm.
what she really wants to do, and at the same time, I will do my best to support her um, to pursue her dream. Because it's different. It's different for my situation.
Mm.
Um, uh, because I yeah, it's a already different
Mm.
situation. I think I can kind of provide her some support, um, mentally or financially. So um, I hope I could in future I hope I could give her some support, and then I hope she can do what she really like.
What if she decides to be a writer like you?
It could be, yeah, I think it's also fine because
Mm.
nowadays
It's very different now, isn't
and
it?
you know what, I was thinking probably after I get retired, and probably I can still be a writer. You know, who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, your life has taken a very specific path because you wanted to get out of the circumstances you were born into. Um, are you happy of the decisions you made overall?
This is life.
Mm.
Like all I can say is, this is life.
Mm.
But most of the time, I think I'm happy. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And you make no mention of your father. I'm curious to know, if you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
um, what he was like. Did you know him? And also what
Mm.
your husband's like.
Uh, my father, he was also a teacher in my hometown, and he played also an important role for my early education, let's say. He um, he educated me. He taught me a lot uh, at home before I got to elementary school, which made me kind of advanced comparing with other kids in the class, and that made me um, uh, to keep, like, for example, I was the first or the second one in the class in the first year. So for the next year, I had to keep it. So, and uh, I think it's um, it's quite important, and it's quite important for uh, for my study um, later, because I had to keep this kind of competitive. Um, I had to compete to with other students. So um, I had to be always the top. I just couldn't. Um, my father was really uh,
Right.
tough to me. He pushed me really hard. Yeah, especially for my study. So from this kind of view, I
Yeah.
thank my father
Yeah.
from this kind of view. Uh, Still, well, it's also I think without my father, I
Yeah.
couldn't be here today. So that's from this point of view, I really thank him. But
At the time, it
um,
must have been tough.
yeah, but yeah. So these are what I
Yeah.
would like to say about my father. And my husband, we met at the institute. We studied for PhD, and uh, we have been married for 11 years this year. And so it sounds sometimes my sister, she said, um, she kind of laughed at me, said, um, you you're having baby after you get married for 10 years. It's a long time to having a baby. So that's yeah. And so we had the same plan. So we made the plan for having child. We both thought before we think we are ready, we would never have a baby. So that's yeah. We had the same plan. So for me, he's not only a husband, he's also friend, my closest friend, and also sometimes he's like my teacher or something. Yeah, Um, because he's a smart guy. I can say he's smarter than me. So which I hope which could make my daughter smarter than me. you know, yeah. So um,
Yeah.
and most of the time we face the problems, life problems, where we share the work problems, and we always discuss at home after
Mm.
work.
He sounds
Yes,
very
yes,
supportive.
he's really supportive,
Mm.
and especially after I give birth, uh, he was really, really supportive, and he took very
Mm.
good care of me and the baby. So yeah, he was. So
Mm.
um, it's hard. It's hard um, to live. Sometimes it's hard to live away from the families, but it's good for us to have each other.
Mm. Well, I must say, you sound incredibly strong as an individual, but you also appear to have really found supportive people in your life, and through your positive attitude, you have flourished and bloomed where you've been planted. And I just think that shows a real strength of character. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us on Scilence. You've been such an inspiration.
Thank you, Shilling.
You're welcome. That's it from my STEM guest this week. What an interesting perspective to have an insight on, to someone who almost found STEM as a way of bettering their life and escaping from much more difficult circumstances. I definitely acknowledge the sacrifices she's made, but I must say that I found our conversation really inspiring in that she really shows strong resolve, and someone who was striving to gain a better life through studying STEM. Thanks for listening this week. Don't forget to rate and review the show, and catch you next week on Scilence.